Hey everybody, happy Wax on Wednesdays. I hope that you're enjoying this month's theme, which is monotypes, encaustic monotypes. This week I'm using, again, a gel press plate and some oil paint sticks. And these are the R&F paint sticks. They're really creamy. And I'm usually using mostly either the oil sticks themselves or my gloved hand as the tools. I am doing these bouquets with no tools whatsoever. This is really fun. The only tool I use a little bit is my brayer, and that is to get the background color on, and also sometimes to enhance the background a little bit with some darker or lighter colors. I'll just use the brayer just a tiny bit to blend that smooth. Otherwise, I'm using, it's a no tool project, and it's really fun. You can get some really great prints with these bouquets with using no tools whatsoever but your own gloved hand. And later on in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I add the encaustic finish to these prints for a clear, luminous, translucent finish. For the paper this week, I'm using plain copy paper from the printer, and I do have a favorite kind. If you'd ever like to see any of the supplies that I use in the Wax on Wednesdays videos, you can always check them out on the blog at ShariReplogle.com, and there's a link below each video to take you to the full blog post for that week's post. The gel press plate can be cleaned with a little dab of baby oil and a paper towel, but you can see I usually don't clean it. I usually just keep going. Unless it starts getting muddy, I will just use the color that's already down there. Why waste it? And it's really fun to even play around with the colors in the background here before you even begin adding the flowers. There's so many possibilities with beautiful background colors that you can create here. And I do use the brayer to smooth that layer out before I start adding the flowers. And there's so many different florals that you can do using just the oil stick or your gloved hand for this. I show an entire bouquet garden on the new Patreon channel, the Patreon page, which is an extension here of the YouTube channel where you can see the slow down Wax on Wednesday videos in more of a real-time version. And also if I make a oopsie, I will explain how I did it and how I fixed it. And I also show extra footage. So one of the garden scenes here that I'm going to add some encaustic to, I show fully how I completed that piece on the Patreon page. So if you ever want to check out that link, then that is in the Busy Bee tier, which is the Wax on Wednesdays tier, and that is on the Patreon page, and the link is below the video as well. It's a really fun way to get more of Wax on Wednesdays and more of an in-depth feel for the projects that I do each week. So I'd love to have you join me and check out the page. So here are the prints that I did that are ready for their encaustic finish. And I have below me a hot plate, an Encausticos hot plate ready to go. This is the print that's on the Patreon page that I show exactly how to do that whole garden print, both of these on the Patreon page for the Wax on Wednesdays Busy Bee tier. And this is the hot plate, Encausticos hot plate. I have this sitting right on top of my griddle. So I'll leave a link where to find this Encausticos hot plate, anodized aluminum hot plate, on the blog as well. So I've turned this down from a 180 to probably about 160, and I have a clear container of medium next to me, and I'm just brushing it on the surface and then laying the print face up on the anodized aluminum plate to get that luminous layer of encaustic going. And I'm dipping also some ones from last week, which were on the Fabrino hot press watercolor paper, which is a little bit thicker. They're already completely dry, so you can see I brushed that one because the thickness of the paper, I brushed it a little bit on top. It's been drying for a week, so it's not going to smear with that oil stick. I wouldn't do that on a freshly done oil stick print. But you can see here how beautiful they soak in that wax and how luminous they look. I have to hold it for a second before I go ahead and set it down, so it takes maybe 10-20 seconds to dry there on the paper. You don't want any drips or sticking to your surface if you lay it down too quickly. So I lay them out on wax paper so they don't, again, get stuck to each other or anything else. But you can see that beautiful translucency that the encaustic medium provides here. And if I ever get a little bit of oil stick on my surface, then I want to make sure that I wipe it with a paper towel real quick and not get oil stick on the next print that comes out. So putting these face up, and you can see how that wax just soaks right in. I'm only leaving it on for a couple seconds, just long enough for that encaustic medium to soak through on the paper and get that beautiful finish. And then I'm picking it up really quickly. You might need a little tool to peel it up from the surface there. If your fingers are real sensitive to heat, you might need a little maybe a catalyst wedge or something like that to get the paper off easily for you. For this surface, like I said, it's an anodized aluminum surface, but you can also use an RNF hot plate if you have one of those that has an anodized aluminum surface, so you can use that. You can also use a polyroland hot box for this that also has an anodized aluminum surface, and I'll be showing that how to paint some prints on those later on in the month here. So these prints have such a thin layer of encaustic medium on them that they are now ready to mat and frame, or you can add them to an encaustic collage painting on a board. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this week's Wax on Wednesdays project, and we will see you next week. Happy Wax on Wednesdays!